Hi everyone, I'm sure you've seen the headlines, mass exodus out of New York City, and they're going all across the nation. And we are feeling that here in Fairfield County. And in this video today, I'm going to talk to you about the impact it has had on the housing market through the first quarter of 2021 and how you can navigate this very competitive seller's market as a home buyer. I'm going to give you 4 key tips towards the end of this video on how you can be successful in this market. I'm Jennifer Lockwood, your local realtor here in Fairfield, Connecticut. We have all figured out that the pandemic has changed our behaviors in many facets of our lives, and that has also affected home buying and home selling. If you ask any realtor who's been in the business for over 30 years, they can tell you they have never experienced a housing market quite like this. And it makes sense because we've all never experienced anything quite like the pandemic either. So what we are seeing here in Fairfield County and really all across the nation is multiple offers, cash offers like never before, homes that are coming on the market and they're gone in days, especially homes that are move-in condition. And if you have a pool, it is like liquid gold in this market. And also we have seen an uptick in housing prices. So for buyers, this market is very competitive. It is stressful, it is frustrating, but it's also doable. So there are some key tips that you can follow to make this market work for you. All across Fairfield County, all of the stats are the same, town by town. We are seeing double digits increase in home prices. We are seeing decrease in inventory. And one of the key indicators is also a month supply of inventory, and that's an absorption rate. And typically in a balanced market, you would have 6 months of inventory, and that's an even number of buyers and sellers. And right now it's 2.5 months. So that means it only takes 2.5 months to sell all the current inventory. And that is for Fairfield County. Town by town, it does vary, but we are ranging from 2 to 3 months in every single town within Fairfield County. So why is this? It's really basic supply and demand. Low inventory, low supply, high buyer demand. So why is the inventory so low? There's a couple reasons for that. I mean, the main reason was driven by the pandemic. So we had sellers who were going to come on into the very active spring market of 2020, and they were getting ready to put their home on for sale. And what happened was the pandemic hit. So they decided, with all the uncertainty, and it was a pretty scary time, they just decided they were going to hunker down and wait it out. So they did not enter the market. They didn't want people walking through their house. They were uncomfortable with that. Then they had to figure out where they were going and have movers come into their house and maybe have to go on an airplane. So they're just waiting. So that's the first group of sellers. The second group of sellers, we had sellers that were on the market and they got offers on their home, let's say it was around May or June. And what happened was, by then, when they had to find a rental to get into or a home to buy, the inventory was slowly decreasing and all of the rentals were swooped up, mostly by people in the city that wanted to get out for the summer because we really didn't know what was going on. So they just kind of wanted to wait it out as well. So we had very low rental inventory, and now we had low housing. So what happened was all those people that were going to sell ended up taking their homes off the market. It worked out for some, but there were a number of sellers that decided also to wait it out. And now we have a third group of sellers. So because of the multiple offer situation, and this is not true in every case, but it seems to be true in many cases, is because we're having multiple offers with cash and people that are renting and have no home contingency, you have a group of sellers who would normally be upgrading their house or downsizing, and they need to sell their house to buy their next house. And in order to do that, they would have a home contingency on their offer to buy a house. Those offers aren't even being considered because they have all these other options of the multiple offers. They have cash offers, they have other offers that have no home contingency. So that whole group of sellers that would normally be on the market who are upgrading or downsizing are not listed on the market. So this is what's driving the low supply of inventory. Now, what's driving the high demand? Well, we've already talked about the pandemic and people moving from the city and New Jersey, and what that has to do with is a lifestyle change. So it has changed the behaviors of our lives. So because the people are working from home, some people now permanently never have to go back to the office. They can live anywhere they want, and they're choosing the suburbs. So Fairfield County is a really nice option for people that live in the city or that live in New Jersey, because those two states in particular have very high taxes to begin with. Connecticut, we feel we have high taxes relative to other states in the country, but in relation to New York and New Jersey, we're lower. We are a nice option for them because in case they have family in those states, or if they do end up going back to work, they're only an hour ride, depending on what town they're living in. They're still relatively close. So it is a very nice option for people out of state. So that's one group that's driving up the demand. The second group is we still have local people that want to live within town and within the towns of Fairfield County. So that's another driver of demand. And then the third big driver of demand is the millennials. They've been home for years, they've been saving their money, they've been renting, and now they're ready to buy. 30% of first-time home buyers are this millennial group. So that is what is driving the very high demand. What we are seeing is that as the vaccines are rolling out and people are getting more comfortable, we will see more inventory coming on the market. Now, I think we all know that there's no light switch going on here, that all of a sudden everything's going to be back to normal. So I do think it's going to be a slow progression of trickling on of inventory. But know if you're a home buyer that if you lose out on a house, there will be another house. They do come on. It is going to be competitive, but there will be another house and an opportunity for you to buy. Okay, so now that I've got all that out of the way as far as the housing market, where we are here in first quarter 2021, I want to give you 4 key steps. If you are a home buyer right now in this market and you're feeling the stress and anxiety, I'm going to give you 4 things that you can follow to help you compete in this very competitive market. So number 1 is know what you're getting into. I've already talked about the multiple offers. Know that there's going to be other offers. Most of them are going at asking or over asking, some substantially over asking, but that also depends on the price point. And what we've seen here as a trend is listing agents will put the homes on the market as coming soon, and you might notice this if you're looking online, that it's really quiet at the beginning of the week, then you'll get some trickling on as coming soon, and then Thursday and Friday you'll see more active homes in the market, and they have it on for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so there'll be showings all weekend, and then by Sunday night or Monday there's a best and final offer, and they let people come all weekend long. They're usually 15-minute showings where you can go in and see the house and decide if this house might work for you. So just know that that is what you're getting into. Know what to expect so that you're not surprised. And then number 2 is pick your realtor. Pick your realtor. You have choices. You can decide who you want to work with. You need somebody you trust in your corner that has your back throughout this process. And research them. You should be picking someone who is local, who understands what's going on in the market, understands what that house sold for down the street, which ones went for multiple offers, and if they know of anything else new that's coming on, they have their pulse on the market, and they are your biggest resource in this situation to win an offer, because they're going to guide you through the offer, the inspections, the negotiation, all the way through close. So really important to get a realtor that you trust. Then that realtor will also recommend to you a loan officer. And I don't think it gets talked about enough, but loan officers are very important because in this particular market, many times loan officers will get involved and they will talk to the listing agent and vouch for your financial credibility. You need to have a good relationship with your loan officer, talk about options, other ways that you could present an offer. They're just as involved in the process as the realtor when it comes to the offer. So very important to pick a trusted loan officer and lean on your realtor for that, because they can guide you to the local loan officers that they have a great reputation and they have good experience with. And that listing agent will look at who you got your pre-approval from. They will see, is that person reputable? Can they count on the fact that they're going to bring it all the way to the closing table? So super important to keep that in mind. Advice number 3 is I would make sure you have your finances in order. This is an area you might have to be flexible with, so make sure you know how much money that you can play with relating to the deposit and changing the terms of your loan. Just make sure you have that in order before you get into the market. And then lastly has to do with the offer. There's 4 elements to an offer: price, contingencies, close date, and your deposit. And all 4 come into effect when you're putting in an offer. And especially in this market, sellers are looking at every single term and what will work for them. So number 1, price. Your realtor will guide you through the pricing as far as, where they think it's priced as a listing price and where they think the price will go to sell, because that will be the fair market value. And right now they're being driven up a bit. So they're your biggest source for that. Number 2 is contingencies. This is where we've seen the biggest change from a year ago. First is the inspection contingency. You want to know what you're getting into with this house, so you want to inspect it. There have been some cases where people will forego the inspection, but typically I never recommend that to my clients. I think you really need to do an inspection. But what people are putting on their offers is for information only. So basically you can have an inspection contingency, but you can't ask the seller for anything. So whatever you uncover or determine, that would be on you, but you can decide at that point if you want to move forward, and your deposit would be protected in that situation. And then the other contingency we've seen a big change with is mortgage contingency. So what a mortgage contingency is you're asking the seller, you're showing your pre-approval, and you're asking the seller to wait until you get that mortgage fully funded. And it's usually 30 days from the offer date. So the risk is really being held by the seller. And in this market, they don't really have to do that. Many buyers are starting to release their mortgage contingency, but you have to be very, very certain that you can do this. You need to be talking to your loan officer and know that you are very solid financially to get that mortgage. They will verify your credit score and your employment right before they fund the mortgage. So those are 2 really important things you need to be confident about, and confident about your financial stability. And the other aspect to this is the appraisal. So to get a mortgage, the house has to appraise out. If the house does not appraise out, then the seller will be looking at the buyer to make up that difference. For example, if you're buying a house for $500,000 and it only appraises at $490,000, the seller is going to want you to make up that difference of $10,000. So that is the premium you're paying in this market, and they want you to have the cash to pay for it. So that's when they look at how much deposit you're putting down. So if you are putting down more of a deposit, it will look more favorable in this market, because if it does appraise high, they want to know that you can pay the difference. This is not true in every situation. I am talking about in multiple offer situations where you need to be competitive. That is one element that buyers are starting to release in order to compete with cash. Again, rely on your loan officer with this. Make sure you're talking about all of your options before it's something that you go ahead and do, because what you're risking is your deposit. What you put down at contract signing typically is 10%. That would be at risk. So at a $500,000 home, you're risking $50,000. So if you don't get that mortgage, that is what you would lose. You got to be very certain this is a direction you want to go in order to get this home. That leads me to the next element, which is deposit. The more that you put down, the more they know you have skin in the game and that you're a solid home buyer. And then the last item is close date. Be very flexible with the close date. Many of these sellers don't have anywhere to go yet. They're going to get a rental or you're going to buy a house. So the more time they have, the better. Not in every situation. Some do want to close quickly, but but we're seeing more and more that people want a little bit more time. We have seen homes close and then sellers have rented back. So that's another option that you can give to a seller in order to secure this home for you. So that was a lot to unpack. So really the biggest takeaways as a home buyer in this competitive market is to know what you're getting into, pick your realtor and your loan officer, get your finances in order, and then put in a strong offer where you can compete. I hope that gave you some insight into what's going on here in Fairfield County within the housing market. If you want more information or you're thinking of moving or relocating here to Fairfield County, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to help. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.